I made a decision yesterday. So hello, all my sisters. And a decision for Christ. Yeah, a decision for Christ yesterday. So my question is, I left a very a friendship, and she was a very open, not follower of Christ. Didn't like discuss anything about Christ, and I was born a Catholic, and we had a very bad breakup, and I prayed that for release. I prayed, do we get back together? Do we become friends again? And so my question is, for healing, when do you let go? When do you continue to pray? When do you know when it's right to release, get on the bus and go? I think that's what we were talking about yesterday. Or do you continue to pray because it was such a huge part of your life? Or is she a season and that season is gone away?
That one's yours, Chris. You haven't said anything yet.
That's good. That's a good question.
That is a very powerful question.
Yes,
I'm
it
going to
is.
get some people that are more seasoned than me to do that. When I first surrendered my life to Christ, there were a couple of friendships that had to dramatically be cut off because they would have dragged me back into just some patterns of destructive behavior that weren't great. And as painful as it was, it would have been more painful because eventually it would have ended up probably there, meaning we had to go two separate paths anyway. You can make that really painful and go kicking and screaming or not. Now, when you've got a tender heart and you want to also obey the Lord, so you don't just want to be rude to people, and sometimes you think, there was, say, a relationship with my family that I didn't get on great with, but God had me, I want you to stick around in this, and I want you to go the extra mile. So in one case, I actually had to take a deep breath and do what was really hard, which was to stay and work through it. When it came to some relationships, for my own sake, and I'm sure for theirs too, the Lord would have had, I had to cut them off. There were places I could no longer visit. I had to be dramatic hugely because you're very, very vulnerable in that moment. So that's why I'm saying that to you. Okay, I don't know where you all are. Yeah.
I have a little saying that I got hold of a long time ago. You can hang with somebody as long as there's a chance for you to affect them, but if they start to infect you,
That's good, Joyce.
then you got to move on.
That is good.
Amen.
That's good.
Because we don't want to run from everybody that's not a believer. They need people to be an example to them. And so I'm all for continuing to try to work in somebody's life as long as I'm having some kind of an effect, even if it's long time in between times when I see progress, if I'm having an effect. But if it starts to infect me and I start to feel compromised or I start to feel tempted, in some way, then that's it.
I know that we can't take it where all three of us answer everyone, but I guess you can see any woman of any amount of decades has had this happen. So let me throw this in real quickly too. And Carly, you said nothing that's making me think this, so just let me go a different direction with this answer. You did not reflect this in any way, but I have learned, ladies, that very often, one way you know a codependent relationship is if it will not tolerate change. If you decide that you really want to make a change, but that friendship won't change with you, very often they would rather quit than change. And that's not a healthy friendship.
That's good.
So keep that in mind. It's very painful. There's nothing easy about even saying it, let alone living it. But I do want to tell you that that is the nature of codependency. Is it wants that, it feeds off of that inner wovenness. And once you try to clean up those lines, that thing's going awry.